A very warm welcome to all of you who've been companions with us over the last few years now, as we've made the journey through these reflections. And of course, a very warm welcome to those of you who may be joining us for the first time. For you, but in fact for all of us, it might be useful to pause at the beginning of this new series and remind ourselves of its purpose. Why are we doing this? Well, we have just said it, we're on a journey. Every single human being makes the journey through space-time from birth to death. No exceptions. Each journey is unique, but on the other hand, we travel together. We learn from each other, we help each other along the way. And like every journey, we have to have our purpose for travelling clear. Even if it's just adventure, or planned discovery, or the need to find a better living situation, more understanding, more possibilities, we need a clear purpose. And as we travel, we need to keep the purpose in focus. We also need some sustenance for the journey. Physically, we need food and water for a journey through space-time. But we also need guidance, advice, and help from friends, encouragement, and laughter. These are all essential for life's journey as we make it in our everyday situation. Well, how do these monthly reflections help us to get the things that we really need to keep us on track on this journey? Well, first of all, yes, we don't aim to find new information, but to reflect deeply on what we already know or what we need to learn and what we are experiencing. And how? Well, the reflections really are based on a series of questions. Very simple and perhaps familiar questions which we need to stand back from the hurry and the confusion and the demands of everyday life, to stand back from it once a month. Listen to the questions and perhaps discover new aspects of the answers, which give us what we need for continuing the journey, life's journey. Sometimes even we may be able to go back to a previous reflection and say, yes, now I see the point of that one. But we'll mention this again. See, our landscape as we journey is constantly changing. It's moving, like this globe here. It's never exactly the same, even 2 days running. And as humanity has travelled this life's journey over centuries and centuries, it has had to face new landscapes. And with the new landscapes have come new challenges. And with the challenges have come new opportunities. And so we will, during this particular series, take up one aspect of the times in which we are travelling now. And the challenge, a main challenge, perhaps some others too, but a main challenge that it presents us with, and the opportunities that therefore open up before us if we'll take them. So this is why we're meeting for these monthly reflections, and this is how the question and the time we give to reflection and sharing with each other helps us to continue the journey with strength and with sureness, with clarity. And this leaves us with the title. The title of this particular series, as you've just seen, is Freedom. Freedom. And like all the other titles in the series, it becomes clearer as we travel through the reflections month by month. And so, let's begin. And so, as the questions we ask are key to the whole methodology of this journey that we're making at the moment, or this series of reflections, let's begin with a question. Where do you live? Oh, you must have heard that question uncountable numbers of times in your life, or you have asked it. Where do you live? The answer, of course, depends on the situation you're in, who's asking, and either you say, oh, not far from here, just down the road, that house on the corner. Or you say, oh, well, you know, I'm on the other side of the city. Or you say, oh, well, you know, I don't really live here. I live in Nigeria. Or, well, actually, I come from Asia. Well, where do you live? The street where you live, the house you live in, the city, the country, the continent, and of course, on Earth. But then where else could you live? We all live on planet Earth. So let's try another question. How old are you? Are you older than 57 years of age? Or are you younger? It's all right, we won't tell anybody your answer. You know? But why 57? Because 57 years ago, humanity made the most enormous cosmic leap that has changed our journey completely. For the first time, we got off the surface of this earth, went through the barriers, and landed in space. And for the first time, a human being was able to stand out there and look back at planet Earth. The cosmic leap. Now, some of us were born before it, and some of us were born after it, and some of us had just been born either way, so don't remember it. But it has an enormous impact on our lives. Where do I live? Yes. In this town, in this country, in this continent, on planet Earth. And where is planet Earth? Well, planet Earth is in the galaxy called the Milky Way, one among trillions of stars and planets. In one galaxy, among what we now know are trillions, uncountable numbers of other galaxies in this universe. And this is really where we live. According to that time of birth or date of birth, we're either very familiar with living in universal proportions, or we're just beginning to be familiar with them. One little 4.5-year-old just moving out of kindergarten into proper school recognized immediately the photograph that his class teacher was showing the pupils, recognized it as a photograph of a crater on the moon. Harry, at 4.5, is used to living in universal proportions. Am I? have I become familiar with the answer to that question being much more than the street and the country and the continent that I live in, but earth and earth as part of this universe? Why is that important? Why is it important to discover whether my horizons have expanded sufficiently to really live well in today's world, with humanity as we are now on the journey? Well, perhaps the main reason is because with the knowledge, the awareness of the cosmic proportions, comes the sense of responsibility for where I live. Care of the environment is everybody's responsibility. Everybody's responsibility? Well, yes. Because nobody owns planet Earth. Certainly not this universe. Since 2004, we've had that wonderful photograph produced by NASA from the photographs that the Hubble telescope made of our planet, spread out, the globe spread out as it is, without its borders, without its barriers. And we have to face the fact that all borders and barriers we have made and remade and changed. For those of you who live in Europe, you just have to take a quick look at the last few hundred years of European history to discover how one little piece of land could belong to this country at this time, another country next century, then in a few years it goes to another country. The borders, the boundaries change because we invent them. So, claims that this is my country are absolute ownership are totally invalid. The challenge of living in cosmic proportions is to accept this physical fact. We did not bring this planet or this universe into existence, and so we really cannot claim ownership of any bit of it. Of course, that leads us to the next question. Well, if we didn't bring the universe into existence, where did it come from? Well, this is not a new question for most of us. What is the source, not just of my country or this planet, but of this universe? What is the source? Where does it all come from? And we're also all very familiar with the answer from physics and some of the scientists that there was a big bang some billions of years ago, perhaps about 14. It wasn't a planned explosion, completely unplanned. It just seems that the right elements were together in the right proportion to cause an enormous explosion, which is still having its ricocheting effect. And out of this, the whole of the universe began to unfold. So no planning, therefore no purpose for this universe. No purpose for the planning of the universe, no purpose for us. It's all just transitory physical reality. Or, and we have looked at this through centuries and seen that, oh no, there must have been some being, something, some power that planned this and brought it into existence. Some non-physical being, some therefore spiritual being. And how did we know that? Well then, it was claimed that this was revealed to us, that this non-physical, spiritual being revealed itself to different people at different times throughout the centuries, around which different traditions, religious traditions, grew up. And so there we are. We have both answers, the answers from physics or philosophy, from science and theology, and they're both needed. They have both helped us along the journey to answering that question, well, where did this universe come from? And therefore, who has the right of ownership? It most certainly isn't us. Where we are now is knowing that the source of all that has and does and possibly could exist is mystery to our minds. Mystery. The mind simply cannot grasp it. But this mystery has always been accessible to our possibility of experience, to our own inner, non-physical, non-intellectual experience of ultimate reality. God, if you like, if you're more familiar with the word. So there we are. How comfortable do you feel living and travelling through this age of cosmic proportions? Because there's no way we can go back and pretend that we do not know where planet Earth is, and at least a little about the universe in which we live. And at the same time, realizing that we're already being told that this universe is probably not the only one. You know? It's all out there still to be discovered. Well, what are we going to do this month as a practice? For the last two series, we have had for each month one very simple practice of quietening the mind and listening to the inner spiritual reality within ourselves. Now, if you find those helpful, and many people have said they have, then please continue them. But for this month, the practice is to go back and look at those questions again. Seriously. Well, where do I live? And where is planet Earth? And what is the source of planet Earth? And then to ask yourself, what should I do with those ideas? Well, you should do it every month. And that is, pick them up and shake them around. Think about them, discuss them, and then sit still and listen as the answers settle down, and begin to see what is hidden there. The truth, the fact of our existence. So, for additional information, we all have access to the media. And the media presents us with factual information from the discoveries of our scientists, for example, almost every day. Do you ever read them? This is the practice for the month. Go back and look at the last few months. There are various space probes, as they're called, going on. There's one that's going to land somewhere in November. Do you know where it's going? What it's looking for? months ago, I think 3, 4, we discovered galaxies that had oxygen 500 million years ago. Oxygen, life. These are just 2 tiny examples of how our proportions, our understanding of this universe in which we are living, all of us, is growing and offering us challenges almost every day. So this month, do a little of updating yourself. Go back and read a few things that you overlooked or didn't even bother to look at about where I live now, and what it is challenging me to do, and how much it is giving me in the way of strength, sustenance and guidance for the everyday journey. Don't forget, when you've done the reading and the tossing of the thoughts around, you really need to sit down in silence and stillness and listen to the answers that you will otherwise miss. You might also think this month, how much time do I take discussing the political situation, the economic situation, the threat of trade wars, etc., 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 which is all going to be history very quickly. You know, we have moved on. The globe is turning ceaselessly. Life doesn't stop for a moment. Neither does the journey. So enjoy the month that's ahead, and we'll meet again for another reflection.